Hey y'all, it's your girl Reese, and I am walking in the park right now. As you can tell, there are activities going on. I'm just walking. I was gonna chill here for a little bit, but I figured I'd go live and just talk for a second. Um, you know, because it's just me and my icy that I got earlier today because there was a Juneteenth festival, which I got there like that late because I was like wrapped up doing stuff on social media for the shops and whatnot. Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about the Hermit card, I guess. For those who are familiar with tarot, I feel like for like the last few months of my life, I've been very much in that space of just kind of like, you know, taking my own path, which usually kind of like steers away from what most people would do in life, especially when you're from a small town like me. And, people are used to their traditions or just their methods and their ways of life. And, oh, this is a pretty tree. I was looking for like flower trees to take some product pictures at, but yeah. Hold on, actually, let me pin this. Okay. All right, hold on, y'all. Give me a little second while I get this together, because I'm like literally just walking and talking. I think I'll sit over here. I can't stand when I'm trying to find like a particular emoji, and I'll just be forgetting which category it's in, or it's in like a weird category. All right, but yeah, and I've always known, like growing up, I was like a different type of kid. I always kind of like viewed the world differently, and I would question certain things that most people wouldn't like even kind of like observe. And all right, hold on. Let me just get to this chair real quick, because I'm like walking on like this weird path that's kind of like grass, kind of gravel. Like it's a mixture of different things kind of happening right here. And I haven't been to this pond in like maybe like a month or so. And I see that there's like lily pads that's grown in the pond that wasn't there the last time I was here. So I'm just kind of like observing nature as I'm like communicating with you all. And you know what? And I come and clean this park from time to time, and it's kind of annoying to see when there's litter here. But don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. But goodness gracious, like why? But anyway, all right, y'all, I'm settled. I'm here. We're here. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I got the Ashe crop top on in the bag with me. I have my little offerings and whatnot that I will give in a little bit. But I wanted to talk on here first, right? So I've been living a hermit life, and I feel like, well, backtracking on what I was saying before, like just growing up, I knew that I was just like a different kind of kid. Like I saw the world differently. I always knew there was more to this reality than what we saw on the surface, with the physical things in life. I was always kind of like into the mystical, but not really like, I was intrigued by it and interested, but I didn't delve deep into it until I got older. But I always felt different from like just the kids in my school and just like my friends and stuff like that. Like I was the type of kid that like at a very young age was like, okay, if Adam and Eve were like the first people, when do the dinosaurs come into play? Because I thought dinosaurs were before humans were even evolved. So something ain't adding up, you know. I like, you know, that thought always came to me, like at a very young age. I can't tell you what age, maybe like, I don't know, 5. You know, whenever that age we were learning about, like, you know, dinosaurs, because like Christianity was something that we grew up learning. You know, that was the faith that I grew up with as a child, even though it wasn't as strict in my household, because we would go to church occasionally, and our church would be like about like an hour and some change away, so we wouldn't go all the time. But yeah, so I was, anyway, my point is, I would just kind of like question certain things and certain you know, just traditional ideologies that were taught to us at a young age. And, you know, I've always kind of been content within myself knowing that I was like different from folks and people. And, you know, and I knew that like somewhere out there, like there's people like me, or that think like me, or, you know, whatever. And I guess when I was younger, I would say I was good at being a chameleon. And I feel like that was like an Aquarius trait, to just kind of like evolve and adapt to different spaces that you're in, right? So I would be cool with, like, you know, the nerds, and then I'd be cool with the music kids, and I'd be kind of cool with the cool kids, even though I wasn't like hanging with them, but I could sit and joke with them or whatever growing up. And I felt like I always wanted to create a space around me where anybody who was different felt comfortable talking to. I think, is that a frog or something like that? I don't know. Out here in nature, let me just show y'all what I'm looking at, because this is the pond that I go to. Ooh, can I flip the screen on live? Oh no, I don't think so. Oh wait, yes I can. Okay, I just couldn't see it. Look at this pond. Isn't it so beautiful? So pretty. And then like you got like the litter here. Like I get it. It's the smoke spot. Like I used to smoke out here too. But like, come on. But you know, I would say like there isn't a trash can over here. So, you know, I don't know. I gotta figure out who I need to complain to so we can change that. But anyway. Like I was saying, I always wanted to be the type of person that created a safe space for, you know, anybody that ever felt like different or like, you know, not accepted, felt comfortable. And I feel like I got to a point within like my journey in life where I guess I realized I wasn't really being my fullest self. Then again, like I'm one of those people who's like, I don't know, like I'm into so many different things. So there's so many different things that make up who I am. Like, you know, I can give you like a bohemian vibe. I can give you like a, you know, preppy business casual vibe, because I've been a part of so many different types of circles and types of people. But then when I got to a point where I was just like, okay, I can evolve into all these different things and fit into all these different spaces, but what does my space look like? You know, what does my space feel like? What is my vibe, my energy, my world that I can create and curate without the need to evolve into somebody else's space, you know? And so I'm grateful to be able to have that skill and, you know, kind of like pull from different spaces. But, you know, when you feel like you have to like conform to different things, it can get exhausting. And so I feel like in these last few months, I spent a lot of time just kind of like being with myself and really figuring out, okay, what's your style, you know? And, you know, and mind you, all those things in spaces that I've been a part of, like that's still an extension of me. And I feel like as humans, oftentimes we're told to fit into a box and be like one-dimensional beings, when really we can be multi-dimensional beings. We can be all of those things. And and I still considered all of those things a part of myself. And I know, I have a lot of different styles and interests and stuff like that. But I really took the time to really just kind of like dig deep with myself and just be like, like, what are you into? Without feeling like you have to cater to somebody else's space, or cater to somebody else's interests. Like, what are your interests? What's your vibe? What you feeling like right now? You know? And I feel like the more that I tapped into, what made me comfortable and what felt good for me, and kind of like standing in that and not really conforming to what other people want to project on me or influence, I feel like that's when I started getting friction in like certain relationships and in certain groups. Well, kind of. It's a mix of that, and then yeah, yeah. That was pretty much what it was. And then plus, like in my early 20s, I had moments where I was like immature, and like as I was like discovering and finding myself and whatnot, like you bump your head a few times and you make mistakes. And I guess the frustrating thing was just feeling like I lacked a bit of transparency in terms of expressing myself. Therefore, people weren't really transparent about their like issues with me, I guess. And so, like, I had to do a lot of purging in terms of like relationships and just frequencies that didn't benefit me in my life. Um, and sometimes that could be frustrating, but when you really align with yourself and your own values and your the things that matter to you and what's important to you and your purpose, um you're going to get some type of friction, you know but I don't want to focus on that. I mean, of course I want to see that and recognize it, and make space for it being what it is. But you know I feel like that's the initial thing. you know Folks who might not get you and say, oh, you changing, you different, you this and that, you wasn't like this. But I mean, it'd be a shame if you stayed the same. We're humans, we change, we grow, we evolve, we age. Like, of course you want to keep the core of who you are intact, and your values and your morals, and the things that make you you. But if certain habits or just certain patterns stayed the same, you wouldn't grow, you know? And I feel like I spent a lot of time growing. But I needed to be in isolation to do that. you know? Sometimes it's hard to grow around people, especially when they're content with, a version of you that you want to grow out of. Shots fired. um, yeah, you know, and that happens like in relationships all the time, like friendships. Sometimes you and your friend used to bond over a certain thing, and then for whatever reason you grow out of that, and then they're still on that thing, and you're like, look, that's not who I am anymore, or I'm not into that anymore. And you know sometimes you can keep certain relationships where you can still grow and evolve and still be within each other's life, and then sometimes that was the thing that kept the relationship together. um and sometimes that could be hard, and I had to deal with that in a lot of my friendships and relationships with folks. Um, you know, and and the thing is, like, my whole situation was like being very willing to, heal any wounds or, any mishaps or burnt bridges or whatever the case may have been in certain friendships. But I have dealt with a lot of like gaslighting. It's like, oh no, that wasn't even an issue. That wasn't like a thing. Um, and, at one point when I've had those moments, I was very like reserved at the time. And I was going through like my mental health situation and just like depression and anxiety and not really knowing how to express myself as I was changing and just feeling like there was just like this curse over my life. And I mean, literally, that pretty much was the case. Sometimes you got to break that shit. And, do your healing work and your shadow work at that. But, sometimes certain things trigger you when you're still healing through those things. And as I was doing my healing work, I wanted to get myself together before going back into certain spaces. And I realized, you hear one thing on the surface, but your spirit feels something else. And that's important. And for a long time, I've neglected that feeling of spirit within myself and just what my intuition is telling me. Because it's like, you can hear one thing and somebody could be telling you all these great things, but your spirit reads beyond that. And you're like, this just don't even feel right. This just don't even sound right for real. And I've gotten to a space where I'm confident enough within my intuition that I'm not going to ignore that anymore. That's literally what guides me in how I, navigate through the world. And sometimes you just have to get grounded, just be with you and your spirit, your higher self, your spirits, like your spiritual team, and just really get grounded and centered on where you are in your path in life and where you want to go, you know. And I will say, like, I used to have a lot of friends. And I was very friendly, and very social. Like, I was still kind of like timid in a way, but still social for the most part. Because I was friendly. My whole thing was I wanted to be cool with everybody. But then when I realized that's not quality over quantity. And then once I started building the quality within myself, I realized there was just a lot of friendships that wasn't working. And of course, like, I've made mistakes within these friendships too. Like, don't get me wrong, I ain't perfect. I know that. But, in my mistakes, I was able to have the awareness within myself to know, okay, I fucked up here. Let me try to fix it. And it's one thing if somebody can say, yeah, you did kind of fuck up, but I appreciate you, like showing up and trying to heal it. Let's do that. But met with a lot of friction and a lot of, oh, that wasn't even an issue. That wasn't a thing. But my spirit knows that it was an issue, and literally how I got into depressive states because I, was dealing with this thing. So I'm just like, okay, well, then that's just more time that I need to spend with myself. And, I say this for anybody who might be going through that stage in their life, where they might just be on their own, in their own world, in their own space. And, you might not feel like you have anybody that relates to you or sees the world like you do or have anything in common with, or maybe you have one thing in common, but like you like so many different things, it's kind of like hard to find somebody who really just gets you. You know, it's okay. It's really okay, because the most important thing is you get you. You know? And I don't like to be too preachy, because I feel like I was at a point in my life at one point where I was like preaching on shit that like, cause I be knowing, but I don't have enough experience in life to like live it, cause I'm an old soul. But I can truthfully say that. I can truthfully say that and stand on that and know that I live that, cause I get me and I validate me and I get my interests. And sometimes, you know, some people aren't as comfortable with themselves. And, you know, there was a point in time where I wasn't as comfortable with myself. And, you know, I would have my low days where I wasn't feeling social and I would just be like closed off. And then I would have good days where I'm like feeling really open, outgoing and feeling really open and really social, you know? And I feel like all of that is okay. But at the time, I felt like something was wrong. I was like, you know, like something was wrong. Like I'm not myself. But you know, like it's okay to have a bad day, you know? But just knowing that you're secure within yourself and knowing that you're worthy of having bad days and you're worthy of not having it all together, but you're still a cool person and you're a good person, you know, and you're still on this journey called life, and it's okay to not have it all figured out, you know. And I feel like especially when you get in your 20s, there's such high expectations for high expectations for like young adults to know exactly what they want to do in life, to do it and be successful immediately. And you know, it's just this society is just kind of like shenanigans. But you know, my path wasn't always easy. I feel like I've always known what I wanted to do. I just didn't have all the resources to be able to do it. And I felt like stifled at times, and I felt like I needed help. And then when I would get help, you know, it would, you know, it just wouldn't go well. Or there would be a streak of time where things would go well, and then, you know, there would be hiccups in the road. I feel like now, currently, like I know what I want to do. I know what my purpose is in this life. I know, you know, what's important to me and what to focus on. Sometimes I have a hard time balancing it all. You know, like I have this shop, and, you know, mind you, I'm in a small town right now. So, you know, not everybody is a part of the spiritual path. Sorry, I'm looking at this bird that just keeps like dipping into the water, and I think he's just like cleaning his body off, but just doing like this quick dash in the water. But yeah, like, you know, I know what I want to do. I know where I'm supposed to be, and you know, I know what my gifts are and my talents and my purpose and how I'm supposed to use them in the world. But you know, I just feel like I might not have the exposure that I need to be able to, I guess, be as impactful as I would want to be. But that's okay. I'm totally okay with that. Just because I felt like there was so much healing work that I needed to do before I can even get to that space. You know, especially like with music. I feel bad for anybody that grows and messes up in the public eye, because the world is judging your life and you don't got it all figured out yet, you know? And, you know, I know there was so much work that I needed to do in terms of like, you know, growing as an artist, growing as a performer, growing as a person, as a woman, you know, growing as a business owner. You know, there was just certain things that I had to grow and learn to do. that I didn't have at first. Like, it's one thing to be a store manager and or an assistant manager, but it's another thing to own a business and do all the paperwork and get all the legal documents together and open bank accounts and doing and ordering inventory. you know I'm grateful to have the experience of doing some of that. um like handling inventory, receiving stuff, processing it, selling it to the customers. But when you're building it from the ground up, getting it up out the mud by yourself, doing all the paperwork by yourself, you know, trying to rebuild a client base by yourself, and figure out how to market with this social media age and literally do it by yourself, you know, it's a challenge. It can be a challenge. And, but I'm here for the challenge. Like, I ain't fucking scared of no challenge, you know? Like, I've faced so much shit in these last few months. Like, physically, mentally, spiritually, alchemically. I don't know if that's a word, but, I've faced so much by myself. Literally, dolo. And that's why I have the confidence to be on here today and tell you about it, and even have the confidence to do this shop. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was just talking to my dad about it. Just feeling like having imposter syndrome when I first started this shop, because I think I started it too soon and I didn't do it the right way. Like, for example, I was still working at a metaphysical shop when I started this business, and what I would do was I would take pictures of the products in some of the stores, because I would sell similar things but more of an African version. But I mean, I wasn't using any of the products that was at that store. But I felt like there was better ways I could have went about it, to start it out. And I felt like I didn't know enough about African spirituality, but I wanted to create a platform that catered to like African spiritual practices. And even if you aren't into Ifa, Lukumi, or Santeria, or anything like that, or Orisha traditions, but you just like sage, or you like to burn, Palo Santo, or you like crystals and stuff like that, I wanted to create a space for anybody within those spaces, and maybe present an opportunity for somebody to learn about it. You might go on a website and be like, all right, well, I see these. Ooh, I know these incense. I like these incense. Let me look at some of the t-shirts. Ashe. What's Ashe? What is that? I literally have it spelled out for you. I mean, the simplest way I describe it is the African amen. But, or you look at the Orisha shirts. And it's like, who are these Orishas? Like, what is that? What is African spirituality? And it begs the question. And I feel like that's one of the most important parts of my job, because, I'm not trying to convert anybody or tell anybody what their spiritual faith needs to be. But I just want to allow Black folks, specifically Black people, a space to beg the question, to say, what is that? And learn about it and not have a fear of it. Even if you're Christian and you've been Christian your whole life and that's what you're going to be, that's okay. Like, I love Christians too. Like, for like last year, I was a part of a church that my friend brought me to. And, I felt conflicted at the time, because I still felt rooted in my spirituality, but I felt like, it was something that my Christian ancestors would be proud of. And that's okay. Like, if you're Christian, that's cool. I'm not telling you not to be, but I feel like there should still be space for you to at least know about Ifa and know about Lukumi, and not think that it's devil worship, because it's fucking not. It's literally spiritual practices where you honor your ancestors. And and I felt conflicted in that journey, just because I felt like there was friction between me and my family, and I might not have been, I mean, look, I might not have been the best relative I could have been at the time, but I've been doing the work to be better and show up how I can within, within my availability, I guess, if that's a word for it. But, you know, sometimes that happens when you're in this spiritual faith and you grow up in a household or a family that's like heavy in the church. But you still got ancestors who love and support you and show up for you. And I felt like I had times in my journey where I was, lost and just felt like, I'm doing this for the ancestors, but I don't know. I don't know where they at. But, they are there. And they can't carry your hand through every situation, but they can guide you and show you ways to get through. And I had to learn that. And it's built my strength in this spiritual practice. But hey girl, I'm sorry, I'm just talking at this point and I didn't realize that you had popped in here. But again, like I'm saying, like I don't want anybody who's Christian to feel like I'm trying to sway somebody's religion. But just like folks are aware of Judaism, am I saying that right? Islam, they're aware of Hinduism, they're aware of Buddhism. Lord, I hope I'm saying these spiritual names right. But you know what I'm saying. Like, people are aware of other spiritual practices, and there is no question that, if somebody, is, gets the statue of, I don't know, Shiva or, Lakshmi and practices Hinduism, there's no thought, oh, that's devil worship. It's only in African spiritual practices. Why is that? And that opens the conversation about a lot of that is through slavery, for real. When we were being transported here through the African diaspora, we couldn't have our heritage. They mixed us up with different like tribes. So you didn't know who you were with. You lost your family line, and they took your name, your family name, and they took your spirituality. Your spirituality is the strongest thing that you have, and gave us a Bible. And there's no shade to the Bible, because let me tell you something. There are still prayers. I still pray and use the Bible. Okay? And let me tell you, the real tea is the Bible is a book of spells, for real. And Christian folks, is low-key witchcraft. But they don't want to call it that. They don't want to have that conversation. But, the blood of Christ, the sacrament being the body, I don't know, it sounds a little witchy to me. I'm just saying. But, and it's no shade, but I'm just like, let's call a spade a spade. But there's no question to that. And if you question it, then, there's so much pushback. But my thing is, no, I want to stand on the fact that there needs to be space for us to at least see and hear and learn about African spirituality without the automatic thing to do is demonize it because of Hollywood and because of movies and misconstrued perceptions of voodoo. Don't get me wrong, shit could go left, it can, don't get, look, I've seen it, dealt with it, all of that, shit can get left-handed, yes. But Black people are oblivious to the fact that you can manifest the reality that you want in your life, And don't get me wrong, I'm not an expert on that. I'm still learning to this day. And I'm grateful to say that I have spiritual leaders who guide me and give me gems of information that has helped me heal and evolve as a spiritualist and grow. But, it's just, those things get frustrating to me. And I know that journey is a hard one, because It's already hard trying to have the correct history be put into schools about slavery. And that's just slavery. That's just the physical kidnapping of black bodies. But the slavery that's been put on our minds is a whole nother battle that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And it becomes uncomfortable conversations. But, for a long time, I've been like the peacemaker. I've always been like, keep the peace, love and light. But sometimes you got to get uncomfortable in order for us to grow, you know? And that journey could be a lonely one. Full circle back to the point of why I even started this live. I didn't even know I was getting into this conversation, but I was just talking, because I'm still in that space where I'm very much, just to myself for the most part. Like, I'm more active on social media. I might be moving around more in my town and stuff like that, but like I keep to myself. And just because I know my path isn't an easy one, and I know, people might not say it off the bat, but I know there's some people who might look at my spiritual journey and look at my spiritual path and be confused, or might not agree, or might not accept it. And that's okay. That's okay. But I'm still going to keep standing on what I stand on, and, create the conversation and share my story. Because with me sharing my story, I'm sharing knowledge, and I'm sharing a space for people to somehow find a journey back to their spiritual roots. And that's the root supply, baby. Yo, that's funny. I love how spirit set that up for me.